This is KGW News at 5.
And now at 5 o'clock, jury selection continues in the Jeremy Christian trial. And we have the list of questions attorneys from both sides are asking to narrow down the jury pool.
Plus, the Albany man, now accused of killing his missing wife, appears in court with police releasing disturbing evidence.
The Constitution demands the removal of Donald J. Trump.
And Democrats are starting to lay out their case in the impeachment trial as the president's lawyers prepare his defense.
It is day 2 now of jury selection in the double murder trial tied to the deadly Max stabbing of 2017. Tonight, attorneys from both sides are drilling down on potential jurors' politics, their takes on free speech, and their experiences riding public transit.
Maggie Vespa is part of a team here at KGW following this case. And Maggie, there's some new court documents really shedding some light on the strategies they plan to use.
Yeah, Laurel, Dan, from both the prosecution and the defense's side, basically this is a standard practice. Both sides submit questions to the judge that they would like to ask potential jurors. And the judge, in this case, Judge Cheryl Albright, chooses which questions to put on it and to give to the jurors. The judge also has the option of adding her own. It's also the first thing jurors see. And on page 2, it informs them that they have been summoned for the long-awaited trial tied to this infamous attack.
Years after admitting he stabbed 3 men, killing 2 on board that Max train, and months after pleading not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, Jeremy Christian sat in court yesterday and watched lawyers from both sides question potential jurors in his case. Attorneys were working off of jurors' initial answers on a 22-page questionnaire first obtained by the Oregonian. On it, jurors were asked whether the right to free speech is important to them, whether they're familiar with the phrase white nationalism, whether they have an opinion about political groups like Antifa or Patriot Prayer, even what kind of bumper stickers or signage they or their family members have on their cars or vehicles. They were also asked whether they take the Max and have ever witnessed a crime or been the victim of one on it. In the moments leading up to the stabbings, Christian is accused of aiming an angry, racist rant at 2 black teen girls, one wearing a hijab. 3 men, police said, had stepped in to stop him, and Christian stabbed them. Ricky Best and Talisha Nomkai Meche died. Micah Fletcher was wounded but survived. KGW has brought on board a team of legal analysts to help us cover this trial. Defense attorney Bob Weaver called the questionnaire thorough with, he says, good reason.
What the lawyers want to do is get behind the answers that the prospective jurors make to the questions and get down to attitudes, biases, and things like that. For example, someone might say that they could be totally fair, but they might also have a very strong opinion of people who use racially incendiary language.
All right, so also included in the questionnaire is a list of potential witnesses for both sides, and Jeremy Christian's name is on it for the defense. But that questionnaire also, guys, asks jurors how they would feel if they were on a case where the defendant chose not to testify. Would that kind of taint their view of the defendant? Our legal analyst, who you heard from, Bob Weaver, says he doesn't think it's going to happen. We'll see,
really
though.
Interesting. I'd love to take it myself just to see where they would assess me. I think a lot of people at home would think the same way.
Absolutely.
What an experience for those potential jurors.
Definitely. Yeah, something they'll never forget.
All right.
Thank you, Maggie.
Maggie,
Sure.
Thank you. Of course, we have a lot of coverage for you to catch up on the Jeremy Christian trial. Things getting underway as we speak. We have all of it for you. KGW.com. Also, check out the KGW app.
There is new disturbing evidence in the case of a missing Albany woman who hasn't been seen in weeks. It was enough for police to charge her husband with her murder. Our Lindsay Nadrich was there as he appeared in court this afternoon.
Investigators say the evidence they found suggests Tiffany Lazon is dead. They say they found her DNA on a circular saw Craig borrowed from a friend. He was in court today, charged with her murder.
Do you have an order to appear and show cause?
This is Craig Lazon in court this afternoon facing charges of second-degree murder, possession of meth, and a probation violation. He's been in jail since last week when he was arrested for animal neglect and animal abandonment. Court documents say he locked Tiffany's beloved cat in a storage unit for 5 days without food or water. The last time anyone heard from Tiffany was on Christmas Day in a text message. On January 8th, police checked her home. She wasn't there, but her car was in the driveway. Here's what her mother told us just last week.
I don't think she committed suicide. I don't think she left on her own. Somebody took her out of here. But who? And I'm pretty sure Craig's involved.
Tiffany is still missing, but investigators say the evidence they found suggests she's dead.
Reading an advice of Roy.
Investigators say Craig borrowed a battery-powered circular saw from a friend. When he returned it, the friend gave it to police, and we're told they found Tiffany's DNA on it. In court today, Craig pleaded not guilty to all charges. He's being held without bail. He'll be back in court next month. In Albany, I'm Lindsay Nadrich, KGW News.
We have learned now the names of the two boys hit and killed by a car in Vancouver yesterday morning. Police say 14-year-old Taylor Crepeau and 17-year-old Andrew Freet. They were hit as they stepped off the curb onto the road near Northeast 112th Avenue and 23rd Street. The driver, frankly, saying he just didn't see them because it was dark and they were wearing dark clothing. Evergreen School District says that Taylor was an 8th grader at Y East Middle School. You see him here. They gave us this photo. Andrew's mom posting on Facebook with a heart-wrenching message saying he would have been 18 today, and it just does not seem real that we are having to make such final arrangements on a day that should have been a celebration of him becoming an adult. The man accused of stabbing an off-duty Portland firefighter, you see him here, that stabbing happened in a bar. He's, of course, being held here in court, charged with assault. Carol McClendon in court today after officers arrested him last night. Police say the stabbing happened Saturday night at Kingston Bar in southwest Portland. The victim told police that McClendon came over to him, threatened him and his friends. He says he pushed McClendon away, and that's when the stabbing happened. The firefighter is recovering from his injuries.
The Constitution demands the removal of Donald J. Trump from his office as President of the United States.
That's what Democrats are trying to argue as the opening arguments get underway in President Trump's impeachment trial. The House managers have 3 days to make their case before the president's team starts laying out a defense. They're aiming to convince a small number of moderates in the Republican-controlled Senate that President Trump obstructed Congress and abused his power by urging Ukraine to announce investigation of his political rivals. They're also still promising to fight to introduce new evidence and witnesses in the trial. Today, the president cast doubt on whether he would let members of his administration testify, but he said he'd like to be there himself.
So wouldn't that be beautiful? I don't know. I'd sort of love sit right in the front row and stare at their corrupt faces.
The next vote on whether to allow witnesses is still several days away.
Authorities in China have now shut down all transportation in and out of the city of Wuhan. That's where coronavirus, the outbreak, first began. Health officials say a Washington man who visited the city caught the virus, and then he got on a plane to SeaTac. That man is in the hospital right now, and we're told he is doing well. Health officials are reminding people that there is no reason to panic.
I want to reiterate that the risk to the general public remains low, and the public health system and our healthcare partners are working swiftly and collaboratively to address this situation.
Keep in mind, SeaTac is not one of the 5 airports across the country screening currently for the virus because it has no direct or connecting flights to Wuhan. The airport says that they are following guidance from the CDC and the Department of Health. Salem's City Council, they're declaring now this housing emergency as the city continues to struggle with its homeless crisis. Despite that, homeless advocates say the city is only adding 9 new shelter beds with this declaration. To give the homeless more options, the city council may also repeal parts of its camping ban, which stops people from putting up tents on sidewalks and public property. There was also talk of turning Pringle Community Hall into an overnight shelter, but that idea is now on hold.
Students at Beaverton High School were back in class today after a fridge caught on fire. It happened over the weekend. The Beaverton School District shared these photos of one of the classrooms that was damaged. As you can see from that photo that you saw before, everything was just charred. We spoke with students who told us the damage has made things just a little bit tricky.
Half the room, not half the rooms, but some rooms are closed off and we have to move around the teachers and classrooms, but I think it's all going to work out.
No one was hurt when that fire broke out.